Hi, welcome. This is a collective reading for June 2020 in honor of the Sagittarius full moon. And while I shuffle, I've already said my prayer that this be in the highest good of all and allow me to be a channel for the message that needs to come through without any of my own ego. So while I shuffle, I pulled an oracle card just right here that says, when I focus on my inner light, I see the world through the lens of love. So that's the overall message, or what you can contemplate as I shuffle. And it's got a full moon. And we're getting into eclipse season here. And there's lots going on. So without getting into all that, I'm just going to be silent while I shuffle. And if you could just take a few breaths and tune in while I do that. When I focus on my inner light, I see the world through the lens of love. So I recently heard that one of my favorite yoga instructors was saying that the more outward we focus, the more helpless we feel and separate we feel. And that the more inward we go and connected we get, the less separate we feel and the more one we feel. So I definitely feel like that alone with this card that I pulled is a message to keep going within. And the moon might be illuminating where that is for you right now. Sagittarius can be the greater truths and the deeper freedoms and the bigger picture or perspective. So those energies can be there. And then, there's also the darker side of it can be that need to be right. Like my truth should be everyone's truth. And just being very mindful and careful of being too blunt or having that edge of truth be a little too sharp. I'm a Sag sun, so I know how that goes. So, but then again, Sagittarius can also have this. It's connected to Jupiter, so this very deep sense of faith. So for this moon, maybe question where you might need a little more faith to strengthen your faith, or give it some more support or love. Okay. So these two cards just flipped over. Temperance. That card is really lovely. And the Three of Pentacles. And then the Eight of Swords reversed. So we'll just start here. What first comes to mind about temperance is the balancing of fire and water. So Sagittarius is a fire sign. And there's also a lot of water is the emotions, right? So there's also emotions are running high right now. And say the tinder to spark is also very high right now. So how do we find a balance or a patience or I mean, exactly what the word implies is a temperance. Like, how can we take a few steps back and cool off a little? Or let, like, if the water on the lake is really turbulent, let it settle before we make decisions moving forward. I have not pulled this card out of this deck yet. It's really elaborate and beautiful. There's an inner authority in this card, and a I don't know if reverence is the right word, but like I'm picking up on the sense of like owning your power and staying in your power despite the chaos uh, surrounding, despite the surrounding circumstantial chaos, right? So in this card, she very much is holding her own. And I get a deep sense of inner authority. And a feminine authority as well. So the feminine can be kind of dark, wild, and chaotic. And here it feels contained to me. So I'm not in any way suggesting suppressing or repressing. We all need to find healthy ways to express. Um, and communicate. But how can we give it a container? Or how can we hold our tongue and not just say the first thing that comes to mind? Like, how can we assess what's going to be beneficial to say? What's the right amount of truth to say? Instead of maybe just this impulsivity or, the spark going up in flames, burning the whole thing down. And in connection to that, if you look closely at this card, she's got see those blue arrows on her throat? I feel like that's also clear communication and clear expression. And then this elaborate headdress, and it's almost like you can't tell where her body begins and ends. There's like these they look like owl wings to me, or hawk wings, some kind of wings, right? Like, she doesn't have arms here. There's like some stronger, deeper, innate knowing, like animal presence. I maybe said owl just because of the wisdom. And then there's this deep red in the background. So, like, sense of security and stability in the face of changing circumstances. And this, it's like she's not flying, but the potential for flight is there. And almost like knowing that you can rise above the turmoil at any moment. And then the little yellow circles with the black dots on the headdress and in the wings, like that also looks like greater depth of vision to me, of a wider perspective. This is a really powerful card. I feel like the whole we could contemplate this card alone and get a lot of the information we need for June out of just this card. And it also seems to focus on the oracle card pulled of when I can focus on my inner light. Like, this card knows her inner light. And there's it's a really strong card. Okay, so let me just take a moment to sit with that and see if there's anything else that needs to be said there. I really like that card. I guess that's just the message coming through is not in any way I'm not suggesting don't express. I'm suggesting a mindfulness to the expression, or even, when you write a letter and don't send it or scream into a pillow, like that still counts as a healthy expression because you're not taking it out on anyone else. And then those blue triangles in the throat, and then with the violet, there's like a violet surrounding them. That just seems very, very spiritual. And then with all this red fire, red's more the root, and our sense of safety and stability in the world. And even, our like the sex chakra and fire and passion and all that. And then how do we not just run off of that, but blend that with the softer, waterier, the more emotional, like cool water, so that they don't cancel each other out, but that they bring each other into balance. Okay, so that was a lot just on that one card. And then moving forward, we have the Three of Pentacles. And again, this red theme here. So again, how do we create and move forward? Pentacles is like earth and tangibility, and then I just feel the red of the last card is pulling forward in this card of there's a pillar and then a trinity, and a triangle is a really strong form. And how to be contained within the chaos currently, but also like maybe looking through the triangle of what we want to create moving forward. And I'm even getting like a sense of innocence here. How can our innocence guide us forward instead of the wound? What resources do we each individually have? And then that blue sky behind there just feels very like light and freedom, kind of counterbalancing the red. So again, kind of carrying that temperance of the fire and the water theme, balancing each other. And then the Eight of Swords reversed. So bound, blindfolded, the feminine. This reverse to me speaks that this is all being exposed right now. So not easy energy to sit with. So this could indicate, we're going to come, this is going to shake loose. We're going to start, the blindfolds are going to come off, and how to get out of these ropes is going to unfold. And, the thing is, too, while you're if you were to be blindfolded and bound, like you have no choice but to go within. So while this card can represent kind of like secrecy or deception or confined circumstances, like all that kind of not so fun stuff, it's also like if you were literally in that position, you would be forced to go within, right? And then the colors in this card, like, eerily really mirror the colors in this card. And not that it's eerie. I don't mean to, if I'm coming across a little darker than normal, it's just I'm recording this while the moon's still in Scorpio, so there's just an edginess in the air. So I don't know if I need to lighten it up or just be authentic. We're just going with it. There is some serious weight to that Temperance card, though. Temperance is also the number 14, if that has any significance for you personally. And then we've got the Three of Pentacles and the Eight of Swords, so Swords is going to be like it's mental anguish. It can be mental anguish. So questions to ask yourself is what are things you can do to support getting out of the mental anguish? And then with her upside down, you know, I like to think of like shaking all the thoughts loose. Or one time in my yoga teacher training, we went into child's pose, you know, where you like sit back on your hips and put your arms out and forehead on the floor. And you might want to try this. And imagine there's a hole in your forehead going down through the floor, and just allow any negativity, worries, concerns, any of that to just drain into the floor until it's completely drained. It's like a really, I found that to be really effective for myself. So maybe you want to try it. I don't know if you're into that kind of thing or not. Let's just drop the whole deck. Okay. The Swords is also like, that's going to be a yang energy. So yang is like outward moving energy and fire. And then Pentacles is going to be earth, right? So that's softer yin, feminine energy. So again, the Temperance card is sort of pointing to how do we tangibly create while kind of being held back in limitation. And then as I'm talking about that, Seven of Cups reversed comes out. So maybe these emotions that are a little trickier to deal with, and this is a really cool card. I really love the art in this deck. I was going to go with another deck, and then like last minute, this one was calling to me. It's the Aquarian Tarot. So when this card's upright, it's can be like an overactive imagination. Sorry, I was not looking at the screen. But reversed, there's a deeper determination in tenacity. So how can we tap into that even emotionally? And ooh, the Justice card. Woo-hoo-hoo. Dead center there. That's going to be the center position. And then the Seven of Rods. Okay, so we have the Justice card. Another really powerful Major Arcana card. This is a queen in her power. She's holding the scales, and she's surrounded by the Seven of Rods and the Seven of Cups reversed. So something going on there with the seven energy. So the Seven of Rods can be like outnumbered by adversaries but ultimate victor. And then the Seven of Cups reversed being like a determination. So again, in the face of this strange circumstance or whatever is playing out on the world stage, that justice is I wouldn't say justice is what's prevailing right now, but justice is what's at the heart of it and the center of it, and that there isn't like, regardless of what someone may or may not get away with, or like when they do wrong to someone else, there's a karmic law that whatever you do, you get back. So it's easy to fall into how could someone do this to somebody else and get away with it, or that just deep sense of injustice. But really, even down to the level of having like a negative thought about another person or sending them negative energy, like that's just going to come right back to you. So we all reap what we sow, and I guess I'm just trying to express that the spirit sees everything. Like there's nowhere to hide with karma, and so I guess the message trying to come through is that if you can take comfort in knowing that in the bigger picture of things, and like B, helping that help you be more mindful in what energy you're putting out and being responsible for within. And yeah, and I'm not saying that necessarily passivity or just knowing that is going to solve anything, but coming back to the question of faith that I asked in the beginning is like, I feel like the Seven of Rods is like he's holding on to his truth there, and even if there's opposition, he's steady and unwavering. and gonna get through it. And then the Seven of Cups has like there's it's a little strange to read it upside down here. I'll put it right side up for just a second. It's got all kinds of fun stuff. There's like a rainbow and a flower and a cobra and some fruit and I don't even know how to necessarily read all of that, but the upside down is like maybe we do have to kind of like let go of, you know, maybe at the start of the year what we imagined, how we imagined our life was going to go, or what we thought was our path, and now maybe some of that stuff's getting shaken out and there's more emotions coming up, but that in the face of that there's just a deeper determination or sense of our own spirit emerging that's going to help align us on our path. On the Three of Pentacles creative path to how being ourselves is going to be how we move forward in a way that's in alignment, that can ultimately be of service. I'm getting a little tongue-tied here. I hope this is clear, and I'm always open to feedback. Most definitely. Okay, so moving on. Another Seven of Pentacles. There's lots of red fire going on here. Ooh, so that's kind of got a mix of, you know, there's that pretty blue sky behind her. I keep doing this reversed. And then that Seven of Pentacles is like in this gray cloud. And that's that, like, the lot of financial insecurity. Oh boy. Sort of looking back into the past, and there's like this dark cloud around the what maybe our resources are. Just some uncertainty. Which, you know, is relevant for a lot of us right now. And I keep coming back to this message of really with uncertainty is just to continue to surrender, which sounds a little cliche and whatnot, but I've really been trying to stick to aligning with the faith more than the circumstance, if that makes sense. So it's fine to acknowledge fear. It's fine to, you know, acknowledge what's happening in reality. And then in this card, there's like, you know, the black around that. And then there's also still the sky. So still to remember the other side of the coin, so to speak, with the pentacles. And that whatever's been taken away from us, it's likely because it's opening up doors for something else. So whether that be a relationship or a job or just a way of being, yeah, thought patterns. But it's hard, it's hard to remember that when you're there's this, like the hallways. When one door closes, another one opens, but the hallway is not fun. So a lot of us are in the hallway right now. And I guess also what I'm trying to communicate too is that the more we can align with the faith and the trust and the spirit, or the asking for help of the guides and the guidance, the more that's going to help get to the right door versus just kind of flailing in the dark. And then the Emperor. Oh, you kind of can't see. Here we go. It's a powerful cards. Temperance, Justice, and the Emperor. Hello. That's the owning the masculine energy. That's going to be we have Chiron and Aries. That's the owning the wounds. That's Mars is currently in Pisces right now, but he won't be there much longer, and then he's going to go into Aries and retrograde, so Mars is going to be in Aries like a lot longer than typical. I don't have the exact dates on that offhand, but pretty soon. It's going to be happening pretty soon in like the rest of the summer. And how do you honor the inner feminine wisdom and also the masculine? And the higher expression of the masculine energy is going to be to protect, right? To protect the feminine. So it's not to be a big man. It's not to show off your muscle or any of this like cultural conditioning. It's that when it's really in service to protection of the feminine. Like when you're around a strong masculine, there's a sense of grounding and just protection. So how can we in ourselves show up for ourselves and bring that archetype out of us, or strengthen and support that? Like whether, if you're female, it's we all both have the feminine and masculine archetypes within. So how can we strengthen that protective side? And even if it means showing up for yourself in ways you haven't, how can you start? Because I know that there's a lot going on in the world, and it's so easy to want to do the work outward. But I'm a strong advocate for the more we do the inner work, it's going to be reflected in the outer, and that if everyone would get behind that, we could like shift things dramatically. And I know that's a little easier said than done, and it's a process, and shadow work isn't necessarily easy or becoming conscious, but the value's in the effort. My teacher Jeff Green in evolutionary astrology has made that a big focus. And you could even look, if you know any of your astrology, you could look to where your natal Mars is and or where transiting Mars is to kind of see what energies to play with there. And if you need any help with that, like, feel free to reach out to me and I can help you figure out what that is. But the Emperor, yeah, powerful inner authority. I was getting that message last night of just how do I come into my own inner authority and recognize that like no one else can determine who I am, and it's my responsibility to choose to respond instead of react. And regardless of what's happening around us, like, we can't control that, but we can control how we choose to respond. So how do we use that intelligence for June? This reading is not messing around. I mean, look at all this red coming through. With the bits of light blue. The only card that like isn't really this like super powerful red, black, and violet is like the hints of pink. So the Emperor, I love it. The Emperor card has this soft pink. Oh, let me let you look at this card if you need to. You know, strong head on his shoulders. And then the soft pink. I love that. There's some symbolism in that in this artwork. Masculine isn't always about being the hard badass. It can be a how do you protect the vulnerability of the feminine. And then that's sitting right underneath that Justice card and that Three of Pentacles. So if we're looking at the reading vertically, how do we want to go forward in a fair, balanced, just way? In our power, making choices. While staying tempered, while dealing with possible financial uncertainty. Ooh, another quote I just heard was, in uncertainty, all things are possible. So remember that as well. And then by Ace of Swords. Whew. Okay. And we're back to I mean, that's like going to be a powerful new beginning. So while we're, you know, we have the full moon eclipse, and then there's also going to be the new moon. And June might end up being pretty, I don't know if magical is the right word, but there might be, swords can be like cutting through the BS. So there might be a new beginning and cutting through what's no longer serving. And with this card in particular, there's, I mean, like the Ace of Swords is just strong. But then look, I don't know if the computer captures the light, but there's like this really beautiful pink blue background. And then look, there's like this really beautiful pink blue background. So interesting how I went full circle there. And two roses. Throughout the reading, there's these violet flowers at the end of the rods with the like cherry center. There's a yellow flower here, but then here we have like two white roses, and so the white to me is like for some reason I'm getting like the purity and presence or peace of a dove. Just kind of like purifying our thoughts and clearing out the clutter and, you know, coming into a true alignment. And this just all cycles back to the oracle card that when I focus on my inner light, I see the world through the lens of love. Which brings me back to the MLK quote, hatred cannot drive out hatred, like darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can drive out the darkness, and only love can drive out hatred. So how can we go within and spark that light of truth in our hearts? And let it I really keep getting the message with faith. Jupiter is faith. So this Sagittarius full moon, how do we go within, spark our light, hold fast to the faith, respond instead of react. And regardless of whatever setbacks or circumstances that are incredibly challenging or heartbreaking, how do we just hold on to that determination? Like so intense right now. I hope this isn't too intense. Like I said, I'm doing these readings as like an offering or a service, and even some practice. So you don't know. Just, I hope you're able to have this spark something within you, or take something away from this, and with this Ace of Swords, this is going to be a triumph of a great force. And it can signify the birth of a special event, or like a just love winning out. So please take that with you as you move forward into June. I would say the central focus of this reading is justice. And, like when I was saying that the karma law, I've brought this up in numerous readings now, but, with the Egyptian mythology of when you die and you go have your heart weighed, is it as light as a feather, or is it heavy? And if it's light as a feather, you're free. So whatever actions you take, whatever actions anyone else takes, like that's in essence it's like it's there, and how can we use that knowledge going forward to be mindful of what we're bringing. Forward. There's something else I was going to say and I lost it. So I think this feels complete. I guess I'll pull one more animal card. And I know these readings get a little long-winded. It seems to be like I hover around the 45-minute mark. I was going to try and get them shorter, but this is just what is happening. Okay, so the dove came out. Peace, peace, peace. And I almost feel like that's more confirmation, because I was just talking about the those white roses on the Ace of Swords, reminding me of like a white dove. And again, there's some lunar energy here. And I'm reading the back of the card, but I'm not going to read the back of the card. I'm just going to I'm actually going to read some notes that I just took on the dove. Totally unrelated, learning my spirit animals, but it's a power animal to rise above chaos, find peace and renewal. It relates to the divine feminine and maternal instinct. It can represent peace, purity, and grace. It can be a way to purify your thoughts. Call on the dove. This may be heralding an end of a problematic cycle in life, announcing new possibilities about to open up. And the dove helps us to rid the trauma stored deep within our cellular memory. Let the energy of the dove bring you peace of the deepest kind. Let it soothe and quiet your worried or troubled thoughts. Surrender and allow the wind to support your wings. Remember to stop and take a few deep breaths to let go of the turmoil that is currently surrounding you and take time to find peace within. What you see right now is your reality shifting in ways you never thought possible. And sometimes the dove shows the most chaos will happen right before it gets better. And that it's important to purify your thoughts so that you don't pull in more of the focusing on the negative. Now, I'm not saying deny or not acknowledge what's happening. It just, there's a strong difference between acknowledgement and discernment versus indulging or dwelling or complaining, if that makes sense. And the dove is also a ground feeder, so that's also a connection to Mother Earth. So to get grounded and to allow the energy of the earth to be nurturing to us, and it can go both ways, right? So allow the energy of the earth to ground and stabilize you, and then also know that you can give her any of your excess and that she's strong enough to transmute it, and that it's there's a regenerative process there, and that you can mourn your losses but awaken to the future. Thank you for tuning in. Lots of love being sent to you and yours. Be well.